welcome and welcome to the new channel. This is the first video I've recorded specifically for this channel. And there's a really good chance I know exactly who you are and I know exactly what your name is if you're watching this, especially as I record it, because yeah, not a lot of people I think saw the last one and realized that this channel exists. But this series is always about creating a place for me to share my experiences and not really about getting in front of a lot of eyeballs. And people will filter an event, I'm sure, eventually. It's like I started the event, but no one could hear the music, so they're still waiting to find the room. But having said that, I wanted to spend some time today talking about something very interesting. In terms of we're going to talk a little bit about the week that was, which was mostly about raindrops. And then we're going to talk a little bit about what's coming up, which is a lot of gigs. And then, man, what an interesting week of learning this has been. So let's get into it. So, as I mentioned, this week is really characterized as having been quite disrupted by the weather. It was very rainy. I was kind of hoping once we got to March that, we'd get better weather. And I think that that's going to be true when you look at March versus February overall. But March 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, which I think are the three, those are the days I had gigs. That was not the case. We had a lot of rain here, and I was supposed to play on Friday and Sunday at Santana Row, which is outdoors in San Jose, and on Saturday at a party that was at least impacted by not having an outdoor space that was usable. So in the end, Friday's gig was a little drizzly, but I was able to do it with the help of my water/shade canopy. On Saturday, I got washed out entirely. It just completely canceled. And Sunday, I decided to cancel the gig as I go into kind of what happened at Santana Row. So Friday at Santana Row, first of all, beautiful, beautiful spot. Really cool. Maybe the prettiest in terms of setting place that I've ever played music. And they set it up that way on purpose. You've got this beautiful big oak tree there, and it's one of the two places that musicians play, where you're under this tree with all these lights on it. It's not a stage. It's like a walkway, but it's polished wood. And weather treated clearly. And so I was on that nice little area there there's like little benches to either side, and people do really congregate there because there's a lot of shops and dining spots all over the place. So in terms of like setting, it's gorgeous. I mean, I didn't have good weather, and brief cut there for some water. Oof. A little cough. Anyway, so there were a lot of people there, but they kind of periodically had to kind of run for cover when the drizzle became more than drizzle, or when the drizzle started up, because it was patchy rain, I would say. There was one period of time where I stopped for about 10 minutes just to kind of let the rain pass because I was playing to nobody. But despite that, I've got 2 other gigs on the calendar looking ahead, including this coming Friday, and I'm excited to play there again. The one oddity about the whole thing was really that I went there, I brought the shade canopy because I knew if it's drizzling, I don't want to be like panicking and like covering my gear. I don't want it to get wet. So I just kind of brought my little itty bitty shade canopy. I'll throw up a picture on the screen right now. And that apparently wasn't okay, or at least they thought it was different than it was, because I actually told the person who booked me that I'll just have that with me. And I played at noon. And at 12:30 in my email, I had an email where they said, "Oh, we don't let people use tents." And I'm like, okay, I don't know if this is in response to the fact that I brought one. I don't know if they had one mental picture and they just happened to email me after I started. Clearly awkward timing to like finish a gig. No one seemed to have an issue with it. Several people in security there seemed to be like, that's a smart idea. But apparently they don't want me to do that. So they said, oh yeah, we'll just reschedule if the rain's bad. So on Sunday, I ended up, looking at the rain. It was again similar kind of forecast, maybe a little bit more rain than it was on Friday, so I probably would have canceled anyway. But I looked at it and I'm like, if I'm not going to have a rain covering, I'm not going to do this. This is not on. So canceled Sunday. But some really kind of fun notes from that gig in particular is on Friday, was the first time playing a gig in public to like a relatively large number of people, where I used my mini kit the whole time. And I did that mostly for convenience because I wanted to be able to bring one carload from my car to where I was going to be playing, because it was not really any way for me to leave my stuff safely to make multiple trips. And it was a long distance from where I parked to where I played. So I really optimized to having the shade canopy on my back and putting everything else with some bungee cords on my cart. And that worked out really, really well. So like there were a couple songs that I was like, I'm really missing the synth sounds on a couple songs, but they all work. And all the arrangements worked. So that was very cool. Including I recently collapsed down my settings. So instead of using two different setups, or two different presets, I should say, one where all the tracks are the same length and one where they're drums are one measure and everything's a multiple. That's what I usually use. I've made everything that second setup, and so I've kind of redone some of my arrangements to make that work. So anyway, that was Friday. Now, before I get into the other thing that happened, which is the bulk of the tip this time, is that and this is weirdly going to be a long video just because a lot happened specifically this weekend. This calendar, as it's coming up, is really, really looking robust. I've got a gig on Wednesday, State Street Market, potential gig on Thursday. I'm going to try to lock that down real fast because it's Monday as I record this. Friday, I'm playing at Santana Row again. Saturday, I return to Chit Chat and I play at Free Will Brewing. And I also was able to book a couple new places, including a place I'll be going to in person tomorrow in Half Moon Bay I hope to play at every month, and a place that I'm hoping to play in Los Altos on this Thursday. I'm playing at San Carlos at the Blue Oak. The calendar has become robust and it's great. I feel like I'm actually doing the thing now, although ironically, because of the rain, I haven't done the thing yet in terms of just actually playing a lot of gigs. This week, I only have one gig that could be impacted by weather, unless of course it gets crazy, unsafe or bad, which is the gig on Friday, and my fingers are crossed that right now the weather forecast looks good there. So that's the week that was and what's coming up. So, hard knocks, or learning the hard way, I guess I should say. So two stories on this. And one of them, we'll do the easier one first. I'm actually working on some YouTube content for the other channel. And again, that's gonna be on that other channel, not gonna be over here. This is just for the vlogs. But that, and it's also not about the fact that my nose looks a little weird because I had some dermatology laser work done today, so my nose got a little bit discolored. But I decided to do a little bit of recording yesterday because I knew I was gonna get my nose lasered today. I thought, let's do some video before it's hard to do that. And I set up all my stuff in the room. I set up all my cameras. I bought another holder for one of my phones so I can get a better control over where my cameras are. All very, very good, ready to go. I plug my guitar in. I turn on the PA and it's just humming. There's a sound there. It's really loud. It's loud enough to be audible. And also, and I didn't realize this was also a tell at the time, or an indicator, was the fact that I was having a really hard time tuning my guitar because the hum was going, turns out, and then skip to the end, the hum was coming from my guitar. I thought it came from the pedal board. I tore my whole pedal board apart. I thought it was my bass pedal. I thought it was my synth pedal. I got to the point where I was just plugging directly into the RC600, and eventually, with the help of my friend Todd, we realized it happened just from the guitar in general. So I was like, wait a second. So I changed guitars, no hum. So I'm using my backup guitar at the moment. The other one is currently in the shop. And so I basically learned the hard way that the right way to check this, just check the guitar first and then add things to it. Instead, I did the other way around. I started peeling things off of my setup to see when it went away, which was a way to solve it, but certainly in this case was the least efficient way to solve it. It didn't even occur to me that my guitar was the problem. So that is at the shop right now. So that's the first short version. I did eventually, using the other guitar, the guitar I'm currently using, I was able to get some footage, basically. I was able to get the footage I hope will turn into a video. I won't say what, I don't want to spoil it. The big part of this video, and the reason why the background music sounds different today, is I have a story about something called an overpayment scam. Again, I'm sure these things have lots of names, but that's the one I found for it. Basically, I was reached out to on Instagram by someone who said they were interested in someone to play guitar on an advertisement of theirs. And being new to this, I said, okay, well, let me at least reach out and see what it is they want. So I messaged them on Instagram. I accepted their request. And I said, okay, well, what is it you want? And so they said, we would like you to play some guitar. We have this backing track. They sent me the backing track, and they indicated they wanted it in a certain format. They wanted it in a certain timeline. They were going to pay me $300, $200 up front, $100 afterwards. And it all feels plausible at this point. The Instagram account that followed me and messaged me was also following another local musician. So I actually probably will reach out to them to make sure they don't get taken in by this person as well. Or maybe not. We'll see what happens. But I'm going to do a video on that because I don't want people taking advantage of others. That's a personal crusade of mine. Actually, I really don't like scamming in general. I think it's it's obviously dishonest. It's the nature of it. It's mean in a way that really it attacks the most vulnerable people. I think that's bad, actually. So now I find myself in a situation where I used to be in tech and actually work with information security. Now I'm a musician, and I kind of have that musician's perspective. I'm like, oh, $300. Seems like a good amount of work for $300. And I'm also uniquely new to it. I mean, I'm new to it. That's not so unique. I'm particularly new at this moment. So my ability to read what's a normal request is impaired because I'm not used to what is the normal workflow for this thing. Still not, as it turns out, because this one was not real. So I get this and I listen to the chord progression, and it's this light jazz progression, and I tell them, I'm like I'm not a recording artist. I'm not a studio guy. I'm not a jazz player. I can fake something here, but I'm not really the person you want. And they assure me, oh no, it'll be fine. So this whole thing happens, and I say, okay, let me try it for the challenge. And I ended up doing this actually on the Saturday because my gig got rained out. I decided to do this. And I thought it'd be good for me. I'd learn a little bit about recording. I'd challenge my brain by learning a little bit of, jazz improvisation, maybe. There were reasons to do it kind of for my own purposes, which is one of my litmus tests for whether I should do a gig or not, is will it teach me anything? So I also just asked them, and I reached out to my friend r.vega, who is someone who is experienced with jazz, who I've played with recently, and we like collaborating together. We're friends, and she's a very talented musician and with a different set of skills. And in this case, she's just a better pick for it than I am, except that she doesn't play the guitar this way. So I asked her if she was interested, and we worked out it might be kind of a fun thing to do, figured out when we might be able to get her recording done. And I reached out to this person again. I'm thinking this all is in good faith. So I said, hey, if you get saxophone and guitar instead of just guitar, do you care about that? And they said, oh, that sounds great. And again, some of the other details around this, they asked for the wave in a particular format, and they said enough little things about the project to make it feel like they were really engaged with this thing, that they really wanted it. They gave me a deadline. So we, with the help of my good friend Todd Jones, we set up the studio room for recording. I install GarageBand. Which again, like I said, not a recording guy. I'm using what's free and available. We get an interface set up. We get a microphone set up. I'm learning some things about mixing tracks from Todd. It's the level they're going to get from someone like me, if this again was in good faith. And so r.vega comes over, and over about an hour, she records some saxophone, does a little bit improvising. We kind of massage some things, come up with something together that we kind of like, and then I do some effects and EQing and mix that, and I make it sound kind of nice. I think it's what's behind, again, as I tell the story, that's what we came up with. And okay, great. Now I know we can do it because we have done the work. So I reach out to the person who sent me the email, and I said, okay, why don't you give me the $200? I'll send you a link to what we did, and give me the $100. And, at this point, we'll just do that as a handshake. This morning, Monday, as I record this, they sent me a email, and the red flags are, they were there in the background before. Now they're bright. The red flags are there, and they said, oh, we really love that you did this, because they told me their budget was $300 for this project, right? And then they send me a check for $4,000, and I'm like, the heck is going on here? And they said, oh, we're giving you $500, and the other part of it is going to be $3,500. It's very strange, very strange. So what I ended up doing was, at this point, give a heads up to r.vega and my friend Todd, and said, okay, I think this is there's a chance there's some real money here, in which case I'm going to pay you both more, or there's a chance that this is a scam, and I'm feeling a little dumb at this point. I even told my mom, credit my mom, who I know is one of the 2 subscribers I can name who will see this. She's like, be careful. I'm like, yeah, this smells wrong. I do some research. My friend Todd actually sends me a video, which I will link below, which is about something called an overpayment scam, where basically they send you a check, you cash the check, it looks like it's cleared, it's actually not cleared, it's only pending, and a lot of bank UIs will show it as in your balance, and then while that's there, they're like, oh wait, sorry, there was a mistake, we sent you too much, can you send us back the difference? Now, that money hasn't cleared and made your account yet, but the money you send them will clear and will leave your account forever, and then the other payment disappears. That's all a scam. I did not send the money. I decided to string them along because, yeah, I felt a little humiliated to be honest. So I basically said, sorry, I appreciate your confidence in me. Again, they say some of the red flags were things like, you're a great guitarist, we love working with you. I'm like, you haven't heard anything I've done yet. I haven't sent you anything yet. So I'm like, okay, this is where it really smelled wrong. Plus, like the sheer, I mean, I've done gigs, have been booked and gotten if I'm doing a gig for 400, someone gives me 500, 550. That's normal. Not 10, 13 and a third X what I was supposed to be paid. So it was a little too obvious in the end. And so now, as I record this, they're still strung along, waiting for me to send them to tell them I've cashed their check, and I'm just like saying, sorry, I'm sorry, I really need a check for exactly 300. And when that clears, and using that language so that they kind of know I'm on to them, and when that clears, I'll send you the link. And they're getting a little desperate. I think they can tell the worm has sort of slipped off the hook at this point. But yeah, I learned the hard way that sometimes people take advantage of musicians. Like, people can be taken advantage of in all walks of life. And this was a different perspective. My own humility around my level of musicianship blinded me to my instincts from my old life, where I used to kind of live in this space. Not blinded me, but it made it harder to see. It occluded the kind of warning signs a little bit, because a lot of things that went in that email exchange, and you'll see this also in the YouTube video I link as well, were very plausible. And the plausibility was what kind of let them get me. So I'm going to get one over on them. I'm actually going to do another video on this specific topic with a little bit more narrative cohesion on my other channel. And I'm going to use this as the backing track, the same track as the backing track of that one, because yeah, they're going to become content. I'm going to use that word, the C word. They're going to become content on the other YouTube channel. And honestly, that's not just because it's fun to have a story that's worth telling, that's you want to just get views on it. I think this is actually I was so grateful that other video existed, because they describe blow by blow the thing that happened to me. And they're not a big YouTube channel either. They're bigger than me, but that's not saying much at this point. But they also, the fact that they had an account of what their experience was, they narrated it, that made me realize that's what happened to me as well. That's exactly what's going on, including, and this is the thing I was stuck on, where does this end? When I look at a scam, I'm like, are you asking me for information that will let you steal my identity? They didn't. Are they, they sent me a payment, okay. I don't, how does this turn into me losing money? Because that's kind of I guess, you see the bait on the trap, but you don't know how the trap functions at that point. Now I figured it out. So yeah, I guess I had to learn that one the hard way. And at the end, I lost a little bit of dignity. I lost a little bit of time. But on the positive, I had a bunch of learnings, not just about the scam, but about recording. Got to kind of think critically about how to do, lead lines against chord progressions that are not typically in my usual realm. And yeah, learned about mixing. I felt like I actually kind of got ahead in terms of learning, but it was a bit of a hard one, bit of knowledge. And so that's what the episode's about today. So with that, I'm gonna shut this down. I've got a lot of YouTube editing to do, honest to God. I'm working on the footage I got from the first of those 2 stories. I'm working on some other YouTube stuff that I got going on. I've got many gigs coming up. Man, In January, I felt fun employed. In March, I do not. And I'm even gone for part of the month, and I'm going to hit 12 to 13 gigs, even with the rainouts, which is kind of wild. So with that, I'm going to shut it down, and I hope to see you next time. And yeah, if you're here for this channel, and if you're seeing this and you're not one of the people who I know personally, welcome. I'm very excited you want to be here, because that's what this channel is about, where I get to yak a little bit and hold myself to account to make sure that I'm learning every week, so I can share those learnings with other people, because that's one of the things I want to make sure that I'm doing as I start my life as a professional musician. So that's it. I'm going to shut it down, and I will see you next time. Cheers.